Jesus says salvation comes to the house of the Lord today. He came to the house of Zacchaeus to bless him. Here's what I want you to look at. When Jesus reached the spot, God's putting spots in front of you every single day for you to make an impact. Look what the next thing says. Jesus, he looked up. He looked up. That, I think, will preach more in the United States than anything else right now. You know why? Because this is how we live our life most of the time. My daughter's 15, ninth grade, so you know, you're in the middle of all that ninth grade girl thing. But being a ninth grade girl is hard, right? I mean, I wasn't a big sports guy. I wasn't very good. And so I just, I survived high school. And my daughter, she's doing her thing. And she and I the other day were having a conversation about, I love Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence Others. And I was talking to her about that, and I was saying, when you are talking to someone, you've got to be invested in them. You've got to listen to them. You've got to be a part of their life. So you got to get your face out of the phone. Simon Sinek says that if you even have your phone facing up when you're talking to someone, they feel like you'll be distracted. It's time for us to listen to where God is putting us in the spot. And it's time for us to look up and sense the urgency. And when we sense the urgency, then it's time for us to step up and seize our opportunity. Because when we seize the opportunity, then that's when we can change someone's life. Now, when Pastor Jeff was talking about the tent and he was talking about stretching it out, who are we putting in with us? But think of it this way. Have you ever been caught in one of these Amarillo rainstorms and then these big old drops are coming down like missiles and you're like taking off to whatever cover you can get under and you go and you like get under there. And so anybody that's on the street is coming to that same location, to that same little place, and you start fitting everybody in. I mean, look at us today. We're spaced out. But I guarantee you, if it was pouring down rain on these two sides, we would all be right here. And we would squeeze people in. We become human Tetris. I mean, we're like moving and nobody says a word. You just make yourself move like, oh, there's some space I can get there. And I mean, we're picking up our kids. We're putting them on our shoulders. We make room when we feel that there's an urgency. When we're trying to stop someone getting rained on. Have you ever been in one of those hotels that has like 20 floors and, the elevator's slower than molasses? You know what I'm talking about. You get on and you are not going to hold up anybody else from getting on. You're like, we can squeeze you in. Come on. You're picking up luggage. You get people in there. Why is it we can be urgently getting people out of the rain, getting people onto an elevator, but we struggle with the urgency of getting people to know how much God loves them? Do not be afraid. Jesus showed up in Zacchaeus' house, and salvation came there. Jesus is putting spots in front of you all day long. Look up. Look up and see who's in front of you. You've got to seize that opportunity. Now, this group that was on the mission trip this summer, we went out to Roatan for a couple of days, and that's a little beach town there in Honduras. And as we were there, we're eating dinner at this restaurant. And Paxton is like sees this guy from Germany who's on the second level of the restaurant jumping into the water. And Paxton's like, I got to do that. And so he sits there, but he's having to convince himself. And I'm sitting next to him, and he's eating like crab, and, it's going all over the place. But he's sitting there thinking, and he's like, I got to do this. And so finally, the next thing I know, I see Paxton next to me taking off his shirt and going and getting on the ledge with this guy from Germany who he just met, just saw, and he's like, let's do it. And I'm thinking, you have no idea. Maybe this restaurant feeds the scraps to an 8-foot bull shark that sits under there. I mean, you're just going to jump in? And he climbed up there and he jumped in. And he did it. And, the whole time he's like, I don't know, my shorts will be wet. He's arguing with himself. And he did it. But we do the same thing. We make excuses when God puts somebody in our way and an opportunity is there. We do. God, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to share my faith. God doesn't need you to know a bunch of steps. God needs you to sit with people and listen. So Paxton comes back up and he does it again. Why? Because he enjoyed it. It's the same for us. When we seize opportunity God puts in front of us, we're going to want to do it again. And we're going to be like, God, show me one more spot. Where can I stretch my tent? Where can I reach out? In my gym, there's this machine. It's crazy. They say if you stand on it and it shoots these red lights at you, it'll shake you. And it says that you can lose weight doing that. And I'm thinking, give me a year's worth of that membership. I'll stand around in a salt shaker all day long, so I'm standing there and it's like shaking me and my teeth are rattling and I'm like, I'm not going to be like The Rock, or I'm going to be like Paxton. Because I've seen that guy without a shirt. And I'm telling you, we can't just sit in a spot and let our faith be exercised. It's going to require me to go to the other part of the gym and use other machines for me to actually get there. Pastor Jeff talks about this place being the big church and you being the little church, and it's time for us to exercise. It's time for us to move. This picture right here is my friend Barnabas. He's a preacher up in one of the areas where we're drilling water wells. He wrote me an email and he says, Bobby, I only took 7 chairs. I'm going to stop right there because I know some of you are going to start counting. There's 9 chairs up there. So you can come back here for a second. 9 chairs, and he's got one for himself, one for the guy that's helping him, and 7 other chairs, hoping 7 people are going to show up for church. First time under the tree. Over 30 people show up, sit under the tree, and after 2 weeks, they did a baptismal service, and over 10 people accepted Christ in that community. So many times we just show up with lack of faith of 7 chairs when God's got so much more in store for us. It's time for us to see the need, and it's time for us to seize that opportunity. Sophia is a little 7, 8-year-old girl in the Ukraine, and Sophia is just as cute as could be, but you could tell she is scared because her entire life had gotten changed, destroyed, messed up, and she was living in this dormitory that was connected to a military school. And in the military school, every day the students who were high school age would come out and they would just stand at attention And Sophia would come out and she would go down the line and she would hug every one of them. She just went through the line hugging. Eventually, one of the guys said to her, "Why do you come out and hug us every day?" And she said, "For the first time since I left home, I feel safe." Church, you're that soldier. Let's look for the spots God's calling us to do ministry.